All right, welcome to today's Explainer. Look, the days of building some generic software tool, slapping a monthly subscription fee on it, and just watching the recurring revenue roll in, yeah, those days are officially over. Today, we're looking at a massive, fundamental shift in how software businesses are actually going to grow, scale, and survive in 2026. We are unpacking what's being called Vertical SaaS 2.0, and we're going to explore exactly why deepening your domain advantage isn't just a nice option anymore, it's literally the only way forward.
25 to 30%. That is the massive valuation premium that narrow, deeply niche software platforms are commanding right now over those massive do-everything horizontal suites. Just think about that for a second. The market is actually rewarding you for serving fewer types of customers. By hyper-focusing your product on just a single industry, you're unlocking higher retention, much easier customer acquisition, and significantly more pricing power. The broader market has figured it out. Deep specialization is just vastly outperforming broad generalization.
Which naturally leads us to a pretty big question. Why? Why are these highly specialized niche apps completely crushing the massive software suites that totally dominated the last decade? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. The default path for serious software growth has fundamentally changed. Buyers are just done. They are no longer willing to adapt their specific, highly regulated, complex workflows to fit your generic piece of software. They expect the software to adapt to them.
So let's get into Section 1. The generalist era ends. We're really witnessing the rise of specialized SaaS.
We're moving away from SaaS 1.0. You know the type, horizontal, one-size-fits-all platforms where artificial intelligence is really just a thin wrapper or a generic chat box duct-taped onto an old, rigid database. Those tools basically forced businesses to operate in whatever way the software dictated. But now, we're entering Vertical SaaS 2.0. These new platforms are deeply niche, workflow-specific, and crucially, they're AI native, right from the ground up. They don't just passively hold data for a human to look at later, they autonomously execute domain-trained workflows tailored precisely to the business using them. It's a total game changer. And the hard economics show exactly how this translates into real revenue. The vertical SaaS segment is absolutely roaring toward a $157.4 billion market size, and it's growing at an impressive 23.9% compound annual growth rate. That is almost double the speed of horizontal software segments. The money, the investor confidence, the enterprise budgets, it's all aggressively moving toward specialization, because honestly, that's where the measurable efficiency gains are actually happening.
Moving on to Part 1 continued, defining Vertical SaaS 2.0. Let's look at where this is happening. Surprisingly, the absolute biggest opportunities right now aren't in hyper-modern, tech-forward hubs. The real explosive growth is happening in highly complex, analog-heavy sectors. We are talking about healthcare compliance, agricultural logistics, maritime shipping, construction, specialized manufacturing. These are massive, capital-rich industries that are still running core operations on fragile shared spreadsheets, ancient custom systems, or, amazingly, even in 2026, literal pen and paper on clipboards. Solving friction in these environments unlocks unprecedented value.
The crucial realization here is that with modern coding tools, basic features can be cloned over a weekend. You just can't build a defensible business on having a slightly better user interface anymore. The real moat today is context. Language matters. If you're building a CRM for a dental practice, it natively needs to understand recall visits, insurance coding, and treatment plans. If it's for 3D designers, it inherently has to handle CAD versioning and IP risks. Software that speaks the exact language of its user inherently builds trust, and that deep operational trust equals incredibly low churn.
Let's look at Section 3, AI native versus AI enabled. This is where the divide really widens.
When we map out the existential threats to traditional software using this risk framework from research affiliates, a few things become terrifyingly clear for legacy vendors. Take the cyclical risk of seat compression. Basically, as AI makes individual workers vastly more efficient, companies simply don't need to buy as many software licenses. The math breaks down. And on the secular side, we see agentic AI migrating actual business logic out of the software layer entirely. If a platform is just a passive database, AI agents are eventually going to bypass its user interface completely, rendering the core product totally obsolete. Look, right now, 60% of enterprise SaaS products already have embedded AI features in some capacity, but having a generic AI copilot floating on the side of the screen, that is no longer a differentiator. It's literally just the baseline expectation. The companies capturing the real, highly valued growth in 2026 are completely tearing down and rebuilding their infrastructure. They're building AI-native architecture so the system can scale securely and orchestrate entirely complex workflows without human intervention.
To ground this,
Let's look at Vision AI in the sports tech sector. Vertical AI here isn't just serving up a dashboard of passive stats for a coach to interpret later on. The AI natively evaluates raw video footage of a player's technique in real time, applies complex, sport-specific scoring logic, and autonomously delivers personalized training drills to reduce unforced errors. That is active execution. That's owning the outcome, not just providing a tool. And we're seeing this exact same deep active embedding in legal document logic and autonomous field service scheduling too.
All right, Section 4, the embedded finance multiplier. This is where revenue gets really interesting.
So here is the ultimate micro SaaS playbook for 2026. Step 1 is always to own the workflow. You absolutely have to solve the painful, expensive operational problem first to earn genuine trust. Only after you've completely removed that friction from your user's day do you move to step 2, which is owning the transaction. If you try to push a payment layer before you've earned that deep operational trust, you are just going to look extractive and opportunistic. But if you do it in the right sequence, it feels like a completely natural, helpful extension of your service.
And that is exactly what embedded finance is all about. By successfully integrating payments, payroll, lending, or even tailored insurance directly into your highly specialized software, your revenue actually compounds directly alongside your customer's activity. You stop earning a rigid flat fee, and you start earning a percentage of their actual business volume. It makes your platform financially indispensable. Think about what that does to your lifetime value metrics. It completely rewrites the math, turning a simple tool into a true operational partner. Next up is Section 5, Outcomes over Subscriptions. This is a massive pricing shift. We are seeing a massive shift in buyer psychology right now. Traditional per-seat subscription pricing is losing ground, and fast. Today, a striking 42% of enterprise buyers actually prefer dynamic usage-based models, compared to just 38% sticking with classic subscriptions. And honestly, this makes perfect sense, because AI dramatically increases the output of every single worker. Charging per seat just doesn't accurately capture or reflect the massive value the software is actually providing to the enterprise anymore. So what does outcome-based pricing actually look like in the wild? Well, in HR tech, the most innovative vendors are now charging based on successful hires or permanent placements rather than monthly access fees. Over in insurance, pricing is based on the actual number of claims successfully processed. In manufacturing, it's tied directly to physical units produced or shipped. The AI is what allows vendors to confidently align their pricing perfectly with customer results, letting them share directly in the upside of the efficiency they create.
Section 2. The new moat is deep. Let's talk about building a real competitive advantage.
Because these moats are getting so unbelievably deep, it's leading to a fascinating M&A trend we are seeing everywhere in 2026. In the past, niche vendors lived in constant fear of being swallowed up by giant, horizontal tech conglomerates. Well, not anymore. Today, vertical SaaS companies are the hunters. They're highly capitalized, and they're actively acquiring adjacent, complementary software tools to deepen their footprint so they can outright own the entire workflow of their target industry from end to end.
Even the enterprise procurement process itself is actively defending this new moat. Corporate IT departments are simply no longer satisfied with generic security certificates or basic compliance checkboxes. Now they're enforcing incredibly strict audits. They demand clear AI explainability, deep data portability, strict tenant isolation, and even precise carbon tracking for the specific data centers running these complex AI models. Generic horizontal tools simply cannot pass these rigorous, highly specialized industry audits. They are literally getting blocked at the door.
So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider today. Look closely at your own strategy, your own tech stack, or even your investment portfolio. Are you building or buying a generic tool that is just waiting to be copied over a weekend? Or are you heavily investing in a vertical platform that genuinely speaks the language, natively embeds the finance layer, and fully owns the outcome? Because let's be real, that is the definitive dividing line for success in 2026. Thanks for joining me on today's Explainer. Keep learning, keep adapting, and I'll catch you next time.